We have breaking news right now. The Dogs are back in Georgia.
Yeah, Latasha Givens is footsteps away from that plane. It just came down. Hey, Latasha.
Hello, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I hope you are seeing this. Flight 8897 has just landed. And let me tell you, it's really hard not to be emotional because there are so many people who have been waiting on this flight. I think this flight has been tracked more than NORAD tracked Santa this past Christmas, but the flight has landed. As you can see, the signature Vince Dooley plane carrying the UGA Dogs. They will be greeted by dozens of people here who've been waiting on them. We have the Delta Dogs, we have family, we have friends, we have other supporters. We are live at the signature return flight section of the airport, and there are fans awaiting their return all over the airport, starting right here. Here's a live look at them about to walk down those stairs.
Hey, Latasha, so this is so fitting because obviously they have Vince Dooley inscribed on the side of that plane. Is so fitting because of that legacy coach and what he means to the Dog Nation right now. And just to see this video of the Dogs getting ready to disembark from that plane right now, it is so amazing. Now, you said there's a crowd behind you. How many people are there?
Yes, we have about 24 Delta Dogs who are here with signs, who've been waiting and cheering. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Governor Brian Kemp arrived about 30 minutes ago, and he spoke with us briefly, and we brought you some of that interview. We have much more coming from that, and we also had the plane land with some of the family members and administrative staff, but this is the plane we all have been waiting on. All of the players are about to walk down at any moment now, and I don't know if they're going to be able to hear anything because people are already losing their voices screaming for them the moment we saw the flight coming toward the airport ready to land.
All right, here we go. They're opening up the door. Hopefully someone will be walking out hoisting that trophy, that championship trophy, that back-to-back trophy. And I guess we're going to see this here pretty soon. Will it be Kirby Smart? Will it be the QB1? Is he going to be walking out with that trophy? I guess we're going to find out. And here we go.
Oh my gosh, here he is. There he is.
Wow, just so much energy right there at the airport. You got to imagine what's going through his head right now coming down back.
Well, he's already thinking about, and Jeff is going to talk about this here pretty soon. He's already thinking about a three-peat.
Right.
You know, the coaches, he's already like, okay, I know we just got a back-to-back, but we're also looking straight ahead. But I'm sure a lot of these players, which this is going to be the last game they'll ever play, college football that they'll play, they're still relishing the moment, still enjoying this moment and enjoying this celebration as well.
Yes, and as you guys can hear, the crowd is going wild here. I mean, there are tears in people's eyes, there are signs, people are screaming, waiting for them to arrive, and now they're here, and it's just a really magical moment for a lot of us here.
Well, what a difference 24 hours makes in the life and times of this Georgia football team. It was yesterday at this time when people like Lee Corso and so many famous media people were believing that TCU would be able to pull this upset on their Cinderella season. Cinderella, sadly, was wearing boots last night at the stroke of midnight. There was no slipper. There was no pumpkin carriage. There was just a horned frog that had been smashed by this juggernaut known as the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, 65-7, 58-point difference in the national championship game, an extraordinary accomplishment for a team that is so deep, and they have created such a culture under Kirby Smith. I mean, you know, previously Georgia always had these Kirby Smart. You know what? I've had too many coffees this afternoon.
It's all good, man.
But you know what? You think about this UGA team, and Mark Richt did a tremendous job in recruiting. But Smart has been able to just sort of kick it up to that dimension of which we have not seen. And you take a look at his recruiting, you take a look at how deep his roster is, the competition that they have on a weekly basis of those trying to get into these football games on Saturdays. I mean, the practices are something to behold. I mean, there's so much talent. He's able to deal with these young athletes that, you know, were the greatest athletes of their high schools, the greatest athletes of their conferences, and to be able to take a lot of divas. And, you know, when you're talking about kids that are teenagers and have this kind of talent where all of their lives they have been something special, he has been able to turn this into the greater good of a football team. There haven't been many coaches that have been successful in doing that over the years. You know, you think about Nick Saban and the amazing accomplishment at Alabama, and Kirby Smart was with Nick Saban, had been with him at LSU, had been with him with the Miami Dolphins, and of course was there at Alabama when he was hired to take over the Georgia program. But this program is in a different stratosphere. You know, the Georgia football program's always been great, always been tremendous, always been noble and great to watch, but it is in a different place now, and it is impossible not to think about the future as to where it is going from here. It's easy to talk about three-peat, but how difficult it is to try to get past the complacency. Complacency and entitlement is what Kirby Smart talked a lot about over the last 12 or 15 hours about. That is the major component of trying to put together a football team that is able to build on great success and now these back-to-back national championships.
And I was going to ask you about that, Jeff. So we know that Alabama has been king of the hill when it comes to the SEC. It's all been about Nick Saban and what they're doing, you know. But do you feel like Georgia has now exceeded that they have taken the throne and saying that we're the ones that you're going to have to beat over the next decade?
I thought it was really interesting yesterday on ESPN on one of the pregame shows. David Pollack, who's the great defensive lineman for the University of Georgia, was sitting right next to Nick Saban, and he was making that point exactly, and he was making it eloquently, that this now is the program of merit, of distinction, of record in the United States as far as college football goes in Division I. It's not Alabama, and it was curious and interesting to see Nick Saban sit there and take that. And that in itself was almost as pleasurable as that 65-7 final from last night.
You know, it's interesting. This is Chris here watching these players get off the flight, and they have got to be exhausted after that game last night. Such an emotional high from that game, and they probably had a little fun partying last night too, maybe after the game, but to have to get up early this morning, get on this long flight, and just know that they are here, hearing those cheers. You hear those cheers here behind from those Delta Dawgs that Latasha was telling us about. And this celebration, of course, is only going to get more exciting as they load those buses, caravan up to Athens. Folks are already standing by in Athens waiting for them to come in here. But just imagine, you know, we see these guys as heroes, football players. You know, they're 18 to 22 years old, right?
They're kids.
And just what they have been through, and just this season and the stress of it, and then this is the pinnacle of all that they've been wanting to see throughout the season.
The culture of winning is easily spoken, easily discussed, but trying to put it in motion is virtually impossible. And there are so many coaches that have failed around the country, smart, bright, resourceful men that have failed. And Kirby Smart has done something few have, and that is to be able to build upon extraordinary success. It's one thing to get a national championship, but to be able to do it after you've lost all of the players that they lost to the NFL draft last April, and then to come back with a team that's better. I mean, this was an undefeated team, for goodness sakes. And his ability to manipulate them psychologically, that is as great a skill in any occupation, but it's amazing the way he was able to build a chip on their shoulder that nobody believed they could be back in the college football playoff. Well, you know, that was a bill of goods that was sold inside the Georgia locker room, and it worked. But for the rest of us outside of that locker room, we just sort of smile and shake our heads, because the talent is so much and so great, and you have a quarterback in Stetson Bennett who returned to this team. So I think the majority of us saw a real possibility that they would, if not successfully defend, but they would be in the playoffs.
And you think about Stetson, you think about the QB1, what is Stetson Bennett, and you think what he has accomplished. Junior college, then going back to UGA, and then accomplishing the things that he has accomplished. And you know, a lot of folks probably thought it was a fluke last year when they won the national championship. He came back and he did it again. What do you think about this kid?
Well, it is an amazing saga, and it has been told over and over and over again about, the stuff of a movie, and certainly it will be the stuff of a number of books. I would think that when Stetson decides to tell his story about his UGA experience, it will be a very popular bestseller in the state and in the SEC, and maybe around the country as well, because it is a story that is just unrivaled. I mean, to think that he would pull off all that he has, and he is an older quarterback as well. Think about the Rose Bowl from a number of years ago when he played Baker Mayfield on the scout team, for goodness sakes. I mean, could anyone have possibly imagined that he would eclipse Baker Mayfield? He would do something that Mayfield would not be able to do, or Jake Fromm, or any other quarterback for that matter, and that is back-to-back, and to do so largely on his shoulders. I mean, the plays that, look, football, whether you like it or not, is a game of quarterbacks, and it is. Look in the NFL and the number of teams that can't find good quarterbacks, that have good rosters. It doesn't matter. Quarterbacks matter in football, and if you have a good one, it's like the old John Kenneth Galbraith line from the Kennedy administration that a high tide lifts all ships. And that is certainly the case when you're talking about quarterbacks in Division I, Division II, any division in football. If you have a quarterback who can play, you have a chance to win.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you think the trophy is going to come off of this plane? I mean, we've been waiting. We haven't seen the trophy. I haven't seen Stetson get off yet. I wonder if he'll be the one carrying the trophy off the plane, if it in fact is on this plane. That would be cool.
I would assume that it would be.
I would think it has to be too. I'm surprised. I was thinking Coach Smart, he was the first person off, might have it, but he may be saving it for someone else there to bring it out. It'll be interesting to see. Stetson Bennett did not do the last press conference before they left a little while ago.
Well, he had said last night that at the completion of the clock of the football game, that what he needed to do, his responsibilities had since ceased.
Especially for media.
So, and look, I have a view of this, even though I've done this for so many decades. Why does he need to come out and talk again? Quite frankly, everything that he's going to say would be, after that game, to come back out and you're going to face nothing but questions about the NFL, about all of these kinds of gotcha questions. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, big deal he didn't show up. I know a lot of reporters, a lot of newspaper guys have tweeted out about, oh, he didn't show up. So what? So what? 65-7. What the heck is there to say this morning that wasn't said last night?
Oh, that's a statement in itself. 65-7. Were you surprised by that score at all, Jeff?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I don't know if anybody could have predicted that.
Look, I thought they were going to rough up TCU, and you and I had talked about that on the air, that I thought they were going to rough them up. I just didn't think they had enough five-star athletes. I didn't think they had enough to be able to match up with Georgia. I thought that Georgia would grind them down in the second half, but I certainly didn't think that they would, from the opening kickoff, the game was essentially over.
It was over.
And, everything was clicking for the Dogs last night, and it wasn't clicking for TCU. Sometimes teams play better than others, and they really did. And I mean, the
playoff committee has to look at this. I'm sorry to throw some mud on all of this, but I mean, that didn't look like one of the four best teams in America. And I know they played well against Michigan and all of that, but I was a proponent of Alabama being in the Final Four to begin with. So I just think it's different. I think the SEC versus the Big 12 versus West Coast football, it just doesn't match up these days. USC was a good football team, maybe the best out west, but do you really believe they match up against Georgia or Alabama or even this LSU team that won the West?
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We are actually going to continue to stream this online at 11alive.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.